Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Fabled Lands. Last time, little Devika began her adventures and so far she's gained a magic increase. We've brought the yellow powder to the Blessed Springs, we slew a wereboar and handed its tusk to the Temple of Lacuna, and rescued a wizard who has tasked us with recovering his chest full of treasures from the dragon who stole it. We are going to attempt that, but first we're going to take our leave from the village of Blessed Springs. The village of Blessed Springs, nestling at the foot of a tall hill, has grown up around the holy waters, a special spring said to have healing powers. It has been fenced off by the villagers and a priesthood appointed to supervise the supplicants who come to bathe or drink of the spring's waters. There is no market, but an alchemist has set up shop here. We will be visiting that alchemist in the not too distant future, but not quite yet. For now we're going to head out into the countryside north of the lake where the dragon dwells. Why? We're attempting to head to the forest over here. You are crossing an open expanse of flinty ground. A few herds of sheep roam the low hills. You meet a shepherd who gives you a wolf's pelt. We shall take that, and because it's easier to carry on our back as a cloak, we shall wear it as one. It'll help keep us warm in the cold winter nights. Let's head west to the main road. The road is nearly blocked by wagons and supply convoys. A troop of soldiers forces its way through the throng. The men bang heads indiscriminately to clear people out of the way. Fortunately, we are not bashed on the head. Let us head to the forest of Larun. The forest of Larun is a mighty swathe of densely packed trees, a slice of primordial nature in the middle of busy, industrious Saqqara. You thread your way through the ranks of trees. In places, the forest canopy almost blocks out the sunlight completely, and you are wandering in deep shadow, haunted by the cries of creatures of the forest. We shall seek the willow druid. You're on a quest to take the oak staff to the willow druid who lives in a sacred grove somewhere in the forest. You wander around looking for unusual tracks, strange creatures, anything that might lead you to a druid's den. We're required to make a scouting roll. We have a scouting of 5, we need to beat a 13, so we need an 8 or higher. This will not be easy. I did say in the first episode there were some times when we may need to return to certain locations a few times before we can be successful. This may be one of them. We failed. Much to your embarrassment, you get lost in the forest. You wander around for several days until you finally emerge at the Bronze Hills. You are walking through Bronze Hills. Virtually the whole area has been given over to mining. Everywhere, quarries and mine shafts abound. It is a horrible expanse of torn-up earth. Hardly any areas of green are left. Great heaps of excavated rock, leached of their useful minerals, mar the landscape. You find a quarry that is open to the public. That is to say, if you pay 50 shards, you can dig for an hour in the silver mine. We shall return to the forest of Larun and continue our search. This may take quite some time. As you can see, it is very easy for us to get lost in the great forest. But so far there are no unfortunate consequences for doing so. There we go. You come across a forest glade. Birds twitter in the trees and woodland animals frolic playfully about. In the middle of the glade stands a mighty willow, ancient beyond reckoning. The trunk is hollow and a wooden door has been set in the entrance. You step into the glade and are required to make a sanctity roll, which we are all but guaranteed to pass. We need to roll a 4 or higher. Don't jinx it, Raph. You are pious enough to be allowed to enter the sacred grove. You step in and knock on the door. I would like to point out that if we were playing a Wayfarer, we would have picked up this quest quite easy early on. We would have passed the scouting roll to get in here quite easily, but this sanctity roll is very challenging for a Wayfarer. A lot of the class promotion quests involve the very first one that becomes available to most classes involves picking on one of your lowest ability scores. A kindly old druid opens the door and greets you. You hand him the oak staff.
Thank you, says the druid. An oak staff, eh? That's an interesting message, to be sure.
He hands you 50 shards as payment and a willow staff, saying,
Please take this staff to the oak druid in the City of Trees on the Isle of Druids. I'm sure he'll reward you. Good day, and thanks again.
With that, he shuts the door. We gain 50 shards and a willow staff, which we must not forget to pick up. Let's head back into the forest, where we shall venture deeper into the forest. You hack your way through the undergrowth until you stumble across an old ruin. Creepers and forest moss have grown over most of it, but you can see mask-like faces set into the walls glaring down at you as if in angry outrage at your intrusion. You come to a massive stone slab, clearly a door. Set into the ruin of it is a round granite face, the visage of a sleeping demon. Suddenly, an eye pops open and regards you curiously.
By the tentacles of Tantalon,
exclaims the face in a gravelly voice.
A human? I haven't seen one of you lot for 100 years.
An expression of suspicion forms on its rocky features.
What do you want, anyway?
Just passing through, you comment airily.
Well, you can't pass through me unless you know the password. And that was given to me by Astralis, the Wizard King. Let me see now. 1,000 years ago by Ebron. This is his tomb, you know.
How do I find the password, then? You ask.
Well, says the demon door, Astralis was a wizard, so why don't you ask some wizards?
Where would I find some wizards, you ask?
How would I know, replies the door, testily. I've been stuck here for 1,000 years.
You decide it's pretty much time to leave. Let's head back to the main road. The road is nearly blocked by wagons and supply convoys. A troop of soldiers forces its way through the throng. The men bang heads indiscriminately to clear people out of the way. Yeah, they chop people's heads off and put them in bags. We're mistaken for a beggar and receive 10 shards from a passing priest. Let's move on. Down to the roadside tavern. You join the much-travelled road that connects Trefoil and Karan-Baru. The traffic mostly consists of convoys of troops and supplies. Eventually you come to the Weary Pilgrim Tavern, a way station between the cities. The tavern costs you 1 shard a day. Each day you spend here you can recover 1 stamina point if injured up to the limit of your normal unwounded stamina score. We are unwounded, so we will instead just head straight down to Yellowport. Yellowport is the second largest city in Saqqara. It is mainly a trading town and is known for its exotic goods from distant Ankonkonu way to the south, which we hope to visit one day. The Stinking River brings rich deposits of sulphur from the Lake of the Sea Dragon down to the town, where it is extracted and stored in the large waterfront warehouses run by the Merchants Guild. From here, the mineral is exported all over Harkuna. Blech! Late night mouth, Raph. Come on, you can do this. Unfortunately, all that sulphur has its drawbacks. The stink is abominable, and much of the city has a yellowish hue. The river is so full of sulphur that it is virtually useless as a source of food or of drinking water. However, the demand for sulphur, especially from the sorceress guilds, is great. Politically, much has changed in the past few years. The old and corrupt king of Saqqara, Corin VII, has been deposed and executed in a military coup. General Grieve Marlock and the army now control Saqqara. The old Council of Yellowport has been indefinitely dissolved, and a Provost Marshal, Marlows Marlock, the general's brother, appointed as military governor of the town. To leave Yellowport by sea, buy or sell ships and cargo, go to the harbour master, and that is indeed where we shall wend our merry way. All shipping in and out of Yellowport must come through the offices of the harbour master. Here you can buy passage to far lands or even a ship of your own to fill with cargo and crew. We shall book passage to the Isle of the Druids for a mere 15 shards, a price that would have been prohibitive to us when we started with only 16 in our possession. A bark headed for the Isle of Druids to buy furs is prepared to take you. The journey across the Sea of Whispers is uneventful, and you dock at the trading post on the island a week or so later. The trading post is a small village set up here by enterprising settlers from the mainland. Its main export appears to be furs from the forest. The mayor, a fat, genial fellow who greets you personally, insists that one day the trading post will be a thriving town. There is not a lot here yet, however. A small market, a quay, the settlers' houses, and a shrine to Lacuna the Huntress, goddess of nature. We'll head out of the trading post and into the vast forest that covers most of the island. The trees are closely packed, leaning together as if in conference, whispering quietly among themselves. Birds twitter in the distance, and slivers of sunlight lance down through the musty gloom. As you proceed along a forest track, you think you hear a rustling in the bushes. Later, you spot a shadowy figure darting through the trees, or was it your imagination? An animal snuffling sound right behind you makes you spin round, but there is nothing there. We shall attempt a scouting roll. We've failed. Soon you realize you are completely lost in this strange magical forest. You wander around for days, barely able to find enough food and water. You eventually stagger out of the forest to the coast. Unfortunately, we're going to have to try that again. You'll make your way around the coast. The interior of the island appears to be heavily forested. After a while, however, you come to a bay in which a couple of ships are anchored. A small settlement nestles on the beach. We could spend a shard for healing. However, we have a healing potion that will restore 5 stamina. So let's just go back into the forest again, as we've only lost 2 points. We're going to keep trying this until we succeed. We've failed again. Back on the coast. This might take a while. This will be some of that repetition I warned about in the first episode. Hey, there we go, 3rd time lucky. You struggle deeper into the forest until you come to a thick wall of impenetrable thorn bushes. Circling it, you find there is a break in the hedge, but it is filled by a large tree. To your surprise, a face forms in the trunk and speaks in a woody voice.
None can pass. Begone, human. Oh, it's you again, says the tree grumpily. All right, off you go.
The tree uproots itself and shuffles out of the way, leaving you free to visit the City of Trees once more, which is exactly what we'll do. Welcome to the City of Trees, says a passing woman dressed in the garb of a druid. The city has been built amid the branches of several mighty oaks. Ladders run up and down the trees to houses that perch like nests in the branches. You are not allowed into any houses, but the Druids allow you to barter at their market, and in this particular case, to visit the leader of the Druids. You give the willow staff to the oak druid of the City of Trees, and I can't quite remember his voice. I remember it was quite similar to the tree. Let's see.
Thank you, the druid intones, going on. A willow staff, eh? I see.
As a reward, the druid lets you train with the City of Trees' best hunters and trackers. You gain 1 scouting permanently. When you are ready, you can leave the City of Trees and return to the trading post, which is exactly what I'll do. Now, if we can take 1 more point of damage, we could drink our healing potion. We could also... Ooh. Let's not do that just yet. We'll go to the Temple District. You want to see how the Divine is represented in this settlement. There is a Temple of Nagil. Nagil is the Lord of the Lands of the Dead, and his temple in the trading post is covered by friezes and gargoyles of ornate design, depicting the souls of the dead on their journey to the underworld. Inside it is cool and dark, hung with black velvet drapes. A scroll tacked to the wall reads, "Wanted. Person of unusual resourcefulness. See Temple Warden." We shall indeed visit the Warden of the Temple. The Warden is in charge of security.
We have had an unfortunate, accident, he says worriedly. In the crypt below the temple, we have sometimes experimented with the corpses of the dead. You know, the occasional zombie. Part of the rituals in honor of the particular aspect of Nagil we revere here. It seems a ghoul has escaped from these pits and is terrorizing the villagers at night. We'd rather someone like you sorted the problem out before the militia got to hear of it. Destroy it and bring me the ghoul's head.
We shall accept this mission. Now, you take the mission. Search for it at night, says the Warden as you leave. This is a challenging mission. As far as I recall, it involves a tricky scouting test that we may fail. I will leave the temple. However, I will now visit the Shrine of Lacuna. Because if I'm going to be hunting a ghoulish creature, scouting would be an appropriate task to find, to follow tracks or rumours. The shrine is set in a wooded grove. Birds twitter in the trees, and a deer darts away into the forest at your approach. A priestess is tending a low altar where food and drink has been laid out in honour of Lacuna, the goddess of the wilderness. I don't know if this is the same priestess we handed the boar's tusk to before, but given the small size of the settlement, it probably is. She is the patron of hunters, trappers, woodsmen, and those who seek oneness with nature. We shall seek a blessing from the goddess. If you are an initiate, it costs only 10 shards to purchase Lacuna's blessing. A non-initiate must pay 25 shards. The scouting blessing works by allowing you to try again when you fail a scouting ability check. It is good for only 1 reroll. You can only have 1 scouting blessing at any one time. Once it is used up, you can return to any branch of the Temple of Lacuna to buy a new one. There we go. We have purchased a scouting blessing for the price of 25 shards. It is not depicted here, but it is on the character sheet down by our blessing of storms. Or blessing of safety from storms, I must add. At this point, because it's a tricky roll, I am going to blatantly save the game. Containing the harm this ghoul poses as a threat to the community, Seems like something a priestess should do. You set out that night on your quest to find the ghoul. We have a difficult magic roll, which we have succeeded in. Your arcane knowledge tells you much about the undead. Ghouls are known to eat the flesh of the dead as well as the living. They like to make their homes in crypts and graveyards, and they never venture out during the day, as sunlight burns their pallid undead flesh. Also, they cannot abide a powder of salt and iron filings mixed together. You can purchase these ingredients for 15 shards at any market stall. Unfortunately, we've already spent 25 on a blessing, and that 15 is starting to become expensive, given some of the other things we might want to spend money on. So we shall proceed without those ingredients, relying on just our faith and faith alone. When you are ready, you set off to search the cemetery near the trading post. Let's make a scouting roll. It's not that tricky. Now, if we had done this before completing the task of the Druids with just a sanctity of scouting of 4, this would have been a lot harder. A trail of gruesome murders and tales of terror leads you to an old cemetery in a near-deserted part of the Old Quarter. It is early morning, a few hours before dawn, so you haven't much time before the ghoul goes into hiding. At the gates of the cemetery, you find a small girl hunched over sobbing. When she sees you, she backs away terrified. Let's try to calm her down with a charisma check, which we have fumbled. The little girl runs off before you can talk to her. You thread your way through the pitted tombstones and brooding crypts of the cemetery under the pale moon that bathes the graveyard in a sickly pallid light. Suddenly, a foul stench fills your nostrils and a figure rises up out of the shadows. Yellow eyes glow with feral bloodlust, and the creature sinks its black teeth into your arm before you can react. You lose 4 stamina, taking us down to a mere 1, and now would be the perfect time to drink that potion. Gulp. Goes for potion, and our stamina goes back up to 6. You have been infected. You now have a disease known as Ghoul Bite. Until you find a cure, you have a 1 point subtracted from your Sanctity, Combat, and Charisma scores. No ability can drop below 1. The ghoul, a rotting walking corpse, lunges for you again. We shall invoke the power of the gods and hope that the sanctity-reducing disease of the Ghoul Bite does not hamper us too much here. You call on the power of the gods to banish this foul, blasphemous travesty of life. The ghoul shrinks back for a moment, snarling, and we make a sanctity roll. Oh, that worked out well for us. The gods are watching little Devika. The ghoul staggers back, howling at the night sky and gnashing its teeth. Suddenly, brownish ichor spills from its eyes, and the flesh begins to shrivel on its bones. It collapses in on itself, leaving only a mound of putrescent matter, atop of which rests its head, now lifeless, empty eye sockets staring at the moon. You grab the head and set off. Yes, we do. And then we shall return to the Temple of Nagil and visit the Warden once more.
You did it!
Exclaims the Warden happily, taking the ghoul's head and placing it in a jar. It is time for a reward. You can choose only one of these 3 rewards: an amber wand, which would give us +1 magic. This would raise our magic score to a respectable 4, 500 shards, or a free resurrection deal worth 500 shards. We will take the 500 shards for now. The priest looks you over.
I'm afraid we have no one skilled enough to cure you. However, I believe the Temple of Maka in Yellowport might be able to help, and the holy waters at the Blessed Springs are known to be efficacious in this kind of case.
We will leave the trading post and head up to the Obsidian Stones. A narrow path leads up the hill, the top of which is crowned by a circle of large obsidian standing stones, hewn from solid rock. Despite the bitter wind that blows across these hills, the stones are unweathered and seem but newly laid. They form 3 archways, each carved with mystic symbols and runes of power. There are 3 stone gates engraved with ancient runes. Each gate is marked with a name: Yellowport, where we may seek healing for our malady, Marlock City, and Wishport. From here you can see the coast and the whole island, which is heavily forested. We shall step through one of the archways. Headed not to Yellowport, actually, but to Marlock City. You step through the archway. Immediately the symbols on the stone begin to glow with red-hot energy. Your hair stands on end and your body tingles. A crackling nimbus of blue-white force engulfs you. The sky darkens and thunder and lightning crash and leap across the heavens. Suddenly your vision fades and everything goes black. When your sight returns, you find yourself outside the gates of a huge fortified city. A guard starts in surprise at the sight of you, then shakes his head as if to clear it. Sure, he must have imagined what he just saw. The gates open up and a troop of heavy cavalry canter past. "Make way for the Marlock City militia," says the guard. When they have passed, you walk into the city. Marlock City is a huge, sprawling metropolis enclosed in a fortified wall said to have been built 1,000 years ago by the ancient Shadar Empire. It is the capital city of Sokara. Marlock City was once known as Sokar, until General Grieve Marlock led the army in bloody revolt against the old king Corin VII and had him executed. The general renamed the city after himself. It is now a crime to call it Sokar. The general lives in the old king's palace and calls himself the Protector General of all Sokara. Whereas the old king was corrupt, the general rules with a fist of iron. Some people like the new regime. Others are royalists, still loyal to Nergan, the heir to the throne who has gone into hiding somewhere. Outside the city gates hang the bodies of many dead people. Labels around their necks read, "Rebels executed by the state for the good of the people."
"You best behave yourself if you don't want to end up like one of them," grates a guardsman, nodding towards the swinging corpses as you pass through the great eagle-headed gates of Marlock City. To leave Marlock City by sea, or to buy or sell ships and cargo, go to the Harbour Master. We will not visit the Harbour Master. We will, however, visit the Three Rings Tavern, where we shall rest. It is a comfortable inn near the city centre. The tavern costs you 1 shard a day. Each day you spend here you can recover 1 stamina point if injured, up to the limit of your normal unwounded stamina score. Now for 3 shards we can buy a round of drinks and listen for rumours. We haven't really done this before because we didn't have the kind of money that would afford us such a luxury, but now we can do so. An old troubadour tells an epic tale of adventure and romance involving 3 heroes, a princess, and a dragon. Afterwards, you find yourself talking to him at the bar. He tells you about the time he was captured by the man-beast of Nerech, and that by soothing their savage ferocity with music, he was able to escape. The bard tells you of his lifelong quest to find the greatest story ever told. It is said that the god Sig, in his aspect as the divine bard, passed this knowledge to a mystic called Damor the Hermit. He lives alone in a lost cave, awaiting the day when he can pass on the story to the one who finds him. I am too old now to pursue the quest, so I pass it on to you. I believe he can be found in the foothills of the Spine of Harkun, the mountains to the north. With that information, we will stay overnight before taking our leave of the establishment. Then we shall go visit the temple district.
Saqqara's capital boasts a remarkable spiritual landscape, featuring 3 grand temples, each occupying its own district location amidst the city's bustling streets. Additionally, it is home to the unique House of Priests, serving as the administrative heart of the polytheistic religions revered in both Saqqara and Golnir. As a servant of the divine, it is only fit that we visit such an establishment. Let us enter the House of Priests. The House of Priests is an impressive building, a round house of multicolored bricks. The myriad colours give it a bizarre and garish look, calculated to unsettle the visitor. Inside, 100 offices teem with the administration of the polytheistic religion of Saqqara and Golnir. We will pay 10 shards as a contribution in order to enter. A note has been pinned up in the foyer. Adventurer Priest wanted. See the Chief Administrator. Naturally, you present yourself, and the Chief Administrator, a grey-whiskered priest of Elnir, takes you into his office. He shows you a special crystal ball that displays an aerial view of Marlock City. You notice several strange-looking clouds hanging over the city. They are shaped like gigantic demons reaching down to claw at the city laid out below them. The crystal ball shows things as they are in the spirit world, explains the priest. These storm demons cannot be seen under normal circumstances, but they are there, almost ready to destroy the city. He goes on to tell you that Sulveneris, the divine lord of thunder, is one of the sons of Elnir, the sky god, chief among the gods. He is responsible for keeping the storm demons under control, and thunder is thought to be the sound of Sulveneris smiting the demons with his wrath. Unfortunately, the storm demons have found a way to put Sulveneris into an enchanted sleep. He lies at the very top of Devil's Peak, a single spire of volcanic rock reaching up into the clouds. The peak lies north of Marlock City and the Cursed Moor. We need an enterprising adventurer to get to the top of the peak and free Sulveneris from his sleep, but I must warn you that several priests have already tried, and we never saw them again. We feel honor-bound to take up this quest. There is little else for you to do here, so you return to the city centre. Now, looking at the map, the Devil's Peak, a tall spire of rock, is also on the map here. That looks like something that would be very tricky to climb. We could do with some rope, maybe a grappling hook or some sort of climbing equipment. Let's head to the Marlock City Market, where we can indeed, purchase climbing gear for 120 shards. However, we know there's somewhere we can buy that cheaper, so let's head out of town towards Trefoil, where a certain wizard awaits our return after we have managed to claim his chest from the dragon who stole it. Olifard the Wizardly, right? The main road between Marlock City, Trefoil and Karan Baru is well maintained with regular guard posts. The Sakkarans are nothing if not efficient. A lucky find in the bushes near the road. Someone must have left in a hurry as you stumble upon an abandoned campfire and fine sword laying on the ground. You continue onwards. The city of Trefoil is a terrifying vision of apocalyptic destruction. It had once been a thriving crossroad town, but now it is a burnt-out hulk. It was almost razed to the ground when it declared for the late king during the recent civil war and tried to hold out against the army of Grieve Marlock, the current Protector General of Saqqara. It was then sacked by the general's mercenaries, and General Marlock is now trying to rebuild it. Craftsmen are hard at work everywhere. Let's leave. and head down to Yellowport. Yellowport is the second largest city in Saqqara. It is mainly a trading town and is known for its exotic goods from distant Ankon Konu way to the south. We read this description before when we headed down here from the forest of Larun. There's little need to repeat it right now. We shall head to market and purchase some climbing gear at a reduced price of 100 shards. This is not a big capital city. Oh, there's a treasure map. That's very tempting. Let's not for now, though. And we will equip this climbing gear. We've got good climbing gloves and boots ready to go. We do have a nasty ghoul bite we'd like to fix, though. So maybe I should head up to Venefax. I'm just going to check how long I've been recording, because I have a feeling this is either a decent episode length or a very short one. It's decent enough. Yeah, I think I'll end this episode here, and then next time we'll head up to Venefax, Blessed Springs, to get the disease removed. That's a problem. I wanted to do a quest in Venefax, but the reduced... Oh no, it doesn't reduce... Okay, no, we can do that, yeah. So we'll go to Venefax, do some stuff there, go up to Blessed Springs, get our disease removed. Well, we could visit the temple here. It's 35 shards to remove a disease in Blessed Springs, which means it probably costs more here because we have the luxury of not undertaking the journey. I'll look into that next time. Alright, well, I hope you've all enjoyed this episode, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next one. I'll say goodbye for now though, and cheerio everyone. See you all soon.